What if the 2014 Big Ten football championship game between Wisconsin and Ohio State was fixed? Was the infamous 59-0 blowout that catapulted the Buckeyes to the inaugural college football playoff and an eventual national championship a predetermined outcome? Let's take a closer look. There was great anticipation for the 2014 college football playoff. It was the first year that this new playoff format was implemented, and everyone knew how big of a deal it was. After all, sports fans had been clamoring for a playoff for years, and it was surely destined to be met with tremendous hype and television ratings. Heading into the final week of the college football season, Alabama, Florida State, and Oregon held the top three spots in the rankings. The next tier consisted of TCU, Baylor, and Ohio State, ranked 4, 5, and 6 respectively. While Alabama, FSU, Oregon, and Ohio State closed the season with their conference championship games, TCU and Baylor did not. Since the Big 12 did not have a conference championship game at the time, the Bears and Horned Frogs were left playing their final regular season games. Alabama, Oregon, and FSU were all heavy favorites in their conference championship games. TCU had to play a lowly Iowa State team, and Baylor closed against a top 10 Kansas State squad. Ohio State was faced with 11th-ranked Wisconsin Badgers team in the Big Ten title game. Further, Ohio State quarterback J.T. Barrett had just suffered a devastating injury, and the Buckeyes were forced to turn to their unknown third-string quarterback Cardale Jones. Everyone knew the odds were stacked against OSU to make an appearance in the first CFP playoff. In order to have a chance to make the playoff, OSU would need the schools ahead of them to lose or for them to beat the Badgers. Both outcomes seem rather unlikely. Even if Ohio State defeated Wisconsin, would the CFB committee choose to pick a team playing with their third-string quarterback? The whole point of the playoff was to ensure the four best teams would duel it out. There's no way one could argue the Buckeyes with Cardale Jones were a top 4 team, right? The only chance OSU would have was to not only beat Wisconsin, but to obliterate them, to show they were actually really good. And what do you know? That is exactly what happened. In the final week of the season, everything went about exactly as expected. The Crimson Tide, Seminoles, and Ducks all won their conference title games, TCU trounced Iowa State, and Baylor took care of K-State. All that was left was the Big Ten. In the lead-up of this game, Wisconsin was considered a 4.5-point favorite. That means all the smart people that make a living by knowing everything about college football recognize Wisconsin as clearly the better team. What followed was one of the most bizarre games in the history of the sport. OSU won 59-0. The Badgers turned the ball over 4 times, had no answers for Cardale Jones on defense, and got nothing out of Heisman contending running back Melvin Gordon. It was shocking, so shocking it seemed suspicious. The next day, backed by the unbelievable performance by the Buckeyes the night before, Ohio State was chosen as the 4th team in the college football playoff. They leaped both TCU and Baylor. But was this result fixed to ensure the Big Ten a team in the Final Four? Well, it is certainly possible, as pointed out by Reddit user OnWisconsin5. The Big Ten is the second biggest college football conference in the country, only trailing the SEC. The Big Ten represents much of the middle of America, filled with college football diehards. A college football playoff without a team from the Big Ten would mean a big hit to the reputation of the league, much less money for the league, and much worse television ratings overall. It only makes sense that the Big Ten was desperate to have a team make the first edition of the Final Four, and their only hope was Ohio State. Wisco already had 2 losses and were well out of the playoff conversation. Ohio State had to win, and win big enough to convince the committee that they were legit. And this is where the fix comes into play. The conspiracy theory is that in a meeting before the 2014 Big Ten championship game between Wisconsin's athletic director Gary Alvarez, Ohio State's AD Gene Smith, and Big Ten Commissioner Jim Delaney, they guaranteed a Big Ten team would participate in the inaugural college football playoff. OSU would agree to this for obvious reasons, but so would Wisconsin. The Badgers had much less to lose from a bowl game perspective, and it offered them an opportunity to anger their unpopular head coach Gary Andersen. While Andersen was successful with the Badgers, his coaching ability was questionable, and they had their eyes set on Pittsburgh's head coach Paul Chryst. The thing is that Andersen's record wasn't bad enough to justify being fired. He would have to leave by himself. Moreover, if Andersen left, Wisconsin AD and former head coach Barry Alvarez would get a chance to coach Wisconsin as the interim head man in the bowl game, something he admittedly loves doing and did during the 2012 Rose Bowl. I mean, look at this guy. He definitely looks like he wants to get back on the field. Sure enough, Andersen was so angry at the outcome of this meeting and the potential embarrassment he would be exposed to that he left in protest. Why else would Andersen mysteriously leave Wisconsin soon after to take the Oregon State job on December 10, 2014? After all, Oregon State was objectively a much worse program and team than Wisconsin, and it made no sense to leave the Badgers for the Beavers. In the aftermath, this has proven to be very true. Andersen was fired after 3 seasons with no more than 4 wins with Oregon State, while Paul Chryst has propelled Wisconsin to 3 straight 10-win seasons. How could they keep the players and other people quiet about the fix, you wonder? Because very few people would have to know. A simple coordination of game plan between Andersen and Meyer would allow the Ohio State defensive staff to know which players were coming when and how to stop them. Maybe a few payments to the right people and a new job in a new location would keep everyone quiet. Now, it is important to point out the other side of this conspiracy. It is very plausible that Ohio State was simply better than Wisconsin and the Badgers played a horrible conference championship game. I mean, the Buckeyes did go on to win the whole title with Cardale Jones behind the helm. It is also possible that Gary Andersen left Wisconsin for completely different reasons. He has been on record multiple times citing his family and his frustration with Wisconsin's views on student-athlete academics with reasons he departed. Both of these motivations certainly make sense too. Regardless of your opinion, it is certainly fascinating to consider the situation. Again, it is a conspiracy theory, so it is vital to take this information with a grain of salt, but it doesn't make it any less interesting. Anyways, what do you think? Do you buy that the fix was in? Do you think this theory is crazy, or do you have any other ideas? Comment your thoughts down below. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and click on the bell to receive a notification the next time I conduct another juicy investigation into another awesome sports conspiracy theory. If you have any more sports conspiracy theories, please tweet them at me. Also, you can look at all the sources I used to make this video down in the description, and another special shout out to my man on Reddit on Wisconsin 5. Thanks.